What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Crush This, a Monster Truck podcast. My name is Bradshaw, also known as the Monster Truck Canucker, and this is going to be an awesome episode. We have Mr. Joshua Yoho, crew chief technician for Monster Jam. He recently just went through a battle with stage 4 cancer, and he won. So we'll be talking to him about that, his career, and a lot more. Cheech is currently on the way to the Oklahoma State Fair for a show. I'm not too sure who the promoter is. I believe Monster Truck Insanity Tour, possibly. I'm not too sure. Maybe Cheech can pop on later. I know he popped on for a second just to talk with me and Joshua. He's heading down the road. So it's going to be an awesome episode. A lot of big things happening. I've been working a lot. I wasn't able to go to the Monster Truck Nitro Tour this past weekend in Fort McMurray, Alberta. I wasn't able to go, but heard it was a good show. I know Austin, some of the Tweeties were up here doing a show. It's going to be, I heard it was a great time. You didn't see that little teaser, working on some stuff, but guys, we will get into it. First, we want to thank a couple of our sponsors, people that support us. We have J Concepts and High Octane Coffee. Since day one, those guys have supported us, especially Joey with High Octane. I'm working rocking the Bad Habit hat here. He's going to be with a lot of our friends at the Indiana State Fairgrounds, the 4-wheel jamboree, which I was at last year. Go check out what Joey's doing with them. And then the week after is the finals for the Outlaw Monster Truck Drags in Canfield, Ohio. They had the point series, so it was Bloomsburg, Indy, and then Canfield. So go check that out. Like Stomper, American Scout. So my designs are going to be there. Go check them out. I'd also like to thank Back Channel Productions, Nick Davis. Nick, thank you for everything you do. The awesome coverage of the All-Star Tour. MW1 Entertainment, Mark Werner. We had him on a couple weeks ago. Good buddy of mine in Cheech. Justin Stories. Thank you, Justin. Check out his book, Making Tracks, on Amazon, C Nova Comics. JB Scale Graphics. Go check them out if you want to do some RC graphics. They just did a badass Executioner for Cheech. I love how that thing looks. Monster Truck Attitude. Some diecast Monster Truck Racing, Tuesday Night Smashdown, and Thursday Night Thunder. Go check that out. Steve Jones. That's awesome what they do. Who else? MTRC, Colby Marshall. Thank you for the support on the intro video. And myself, Bradley Shaw Designs. So many people. Thank you for all the support. But we will get into this here. We'll play our little intro, and we will get into the interview with Mr. Joshua Yoho, who I just saw in the comments. He commented, or his girlfriend, wife, whatever. I don't even know what he has. He's smirking in the little box I'm seeing down there. Alex, it is just me. Cheech might pop on. Who knows? He is currently driving, so he's got to be safe so he can get to the Oklahoma State Fair. So let's get into this, everybody. See you in a second.
This isn't your typical motorsports podcast. You're listening to Crush This, a monster truck podcast presented by High Octane Coffee and J Concepts. A show where we take you inside the minds of your favorite drivers, past and present, of the monster truck industry. And now, your hosts, Bradshaw and Dan Cheech. Buckle in. The show starts now.
And welcome to the show, everybody. And joining us is Mr. Joshua Yoho. Josh, how's it going tonight, man?
I'm here. I'm alive.
Hey, and that's a good thing. And from us at Crush This, congratulations on defeating stage 4 cancer. Cancer, we were talking a little bit, cancer's a bitch. And, it's taken some of my family and, congratulations that you fought it. It's awesome to have you here. And, let's kind of go to the beginning. How did you get yourself into this crazy world we call monster trucks? Because everybody, that we've talked to, no matter what kind of area that they're in the sport, has always a unique story. So what's your story, how you got into this all?
Poor life choices and alcohol.
So what, you were hanging out with Darren Migas?
No, probably my best friend. They consider my brother. I consider my brother, Ken Stelling. People know him as Ken Doug, Kenny, Ken, Pony, whatever you want to call him. He's been there for about a year or two more than me. And I went through divorce a couple of years earlier, and my kids were older. So they were doing a Tampa show. He asked if me and my now fiance at that point was girlfriend wanted to come to the Tampa show. And we're like, sure, why not? And me and Kenny last went in 1994 back at the old Sombrero, which was Tampa Stadium then, back in the creamsicle days for Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I seen Dennis Anderson for about a half a second, and he torpedoed the truck into the ground. That was about it. And so we were walking around pit party, and he was showing me stuff, and he's like, you know what, you should just get a job here. You'd have fun doing it. Travel's great and everything. And I tossed the idea around for a couple days and talked to my girlfriend. And the only thing that made my choice that would do it was if I talked to my kids and if they were okay with me being gone, because my ex-wife had been gone for so much with the military, so I didn't want to leave them alone with their grandmother or my girlfriend at that point. So they all said yes, go do what you do, go have fun. You gave up racing when you were 17 when you got married and started having us. It's your time. Go back and do it. So some other things went into it to make it to where I could go, and I've been doing it ever since. I think this year, if you don't count COVID, that's one of those mulligan years. I think I've been doing it for like 6 or 7 years at this point.
Well, you were telling me, when you first joined Monster Jam, your first event that you worked at was World Finals. And from people that I've talked to, either on the tech side, driver side, or crew member side, that's a hell week. You guys are doing so much. When you got told that you were heading to World Finals for your first event, what was your reaction and what was that week like for you guys?
I was asleep when I was told. I went and did the interview with Carl Van Horn and Mark Hansen, which were the two that were in charge at that point. They walked me around the shop. They said, what do you think? And I said, I'll only take the job on a couple conditions if you agree to it. Because I'm very blunt. So if you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you the answer. If you don't like it, I frankly don't care. So if you don't have a problem with that, okay. And I go, I'll work for the company, but you got to know that I will be your friend at the company. There are people I work with, but I'm not here to be your friend. I'm not protecting you. I'm not going on my way to do whatever. And I'm not a fan of the sport. Never have been. Probably never will be. But they're like, hey, sounds good to me. I'm like, okay. Well, Kenny told me that it was probably a long shot that I'd be going to World Finals, but I just need to know if I am, because, it is Vegas. I need a plan for it. And they're like, no, just come in Tuesday or Wednesday if you can. I'm like, well, I still got to finish my time off at my other job. So the earliest I could come in is Wednesday. So I was working nighttime security, and they had called me and messaged me. He's like, hey, pack your stuff. You're going to Vegas. So I had to leave Wednesday. And I didn't even know who it was. So I'm like, okay. I just responded, okay, going to Walmart to get a suitcase. I'll be there. And I literally showed up on Wednesday. They had been there for, I think, 3 days already. And so Mark walked me over to the trailer that Ken Doug and John Sweeney was in, which was Candace Jolly and John Zimmer's trucks. And literally they walked up and they looked at Sweeney. It was like, Mark was like, hey, Sweeney, let Josh change your housing. Well, Sweeney's the only one that works on his truck. And so Sweeney had to sit in the door of the trailer and watched me do something I had no idea what I was doing. Now, I'm mechanically inclined, but I've never touched a monster truck. I was the driver when me and Kenny did racing with my dad, and we both worked, but I've never touched a monster truck, and now I have to change the housing. So that was fun. But I got on Thursday, I think it was practice, one of the practice days. I got food poisoning. So I did what I had to do for practice and qualifying, went and laid in the trailer, woke up when they said, okay, it's time to go. And they had cleaned the trailer around me, got to my hotel room, passed out. Next day, I got back up, used the portalet a couple times, and then I was good. So it was an interesting first show, and it was a memorable one. And I haven't turned down or missed a show the entire time except for once for an overseas show when my daughter was graduating high school. That I wasn't going to miss.
You said something there that's interesting, and you look at a lot of people that are getting into the sport today are fans, super fans or whatever you want to call them. You weren't a fan when you started. Did you watch any monster trucks? When you were younger, growing up, were you familiar with the sport before you got into it?
I knew what monster trucks were because you'd watch them every Sunday morning. I think it was on TNT. Really couldn't tell you at that point. And there was still straight line racing. I remember it was the only year that I remember, and I don't remember the year, is the year they went from steel chassis and leaf springs to the tube chassis.
So like the early 90s.
And I thought the tube chassis were the stupidest thing I ever seen in my life because the old steel chassis that you would just see them so much when they would hit. I'm like, okay, that's just the stupidest thing I've ever seen. This is never going to last. And then I think later that year or a year or two later, I might have started watching again when they had the bungee cord suspension seats. But I couldn't tell you who anybody was. And honestly, the first time I was at World Finals, I think it was Zimmer or maybe Kenny. Like I said, it was a long time ago. Had introduced me to Dennis Anderson because it's Dennis Anderson.
Yeah.
They said, this is Dennis Anderson, the driver of Gravedigger. I'm like, okay. I'm like, the only Gravedigger driver I know is Charlie Polkin. It's the only one I ever remember hearing. I don't remember seeing him drive. I remember hearing of him driving it. And Dennis was like, okay. I ruffled some feathers that first time I was there because like I said, wasn't a fan of it. And really at that show, I just think it was because it was my first show. It was so hot. I got sick. I just didn't even care to do it. But I listened to the veterans, just like I tell the newer guys today, don't judge how things are going to be off your first show because your body's not used to it. You're not used to it, and nothing's going to go right your first show, even if it goes right for everybody else. But I just stuck with it, and now I'm having fun doing what I'm doing, but still not a fan.
It's interesting. I've known a couple of tech officials and few guys that have gotten into the sport. Who when you first got in, you mentioned your friend Ken Doug that got you in. Who kind of gave you the ropes when you got into the sport, because these trucks are very complex machines if you break it down.
No,
who helped you learn the trucks and the techniques to be working on them?
To be honest, until this past year too, when we got EFI in the trucks were honestly not complex. If you had half a brain and a sense about you and good work ethic, you could work on these trucks. But like I said, you have to have half a brain and a work ethic to be able to work on a truck. But I was blessed and lucky for the time that I came in. It was just because I wasn't following it my whole life. I'd come out of the glory days. I just came in at the end of the glory days when the drivers were still crewing on, some were still crewing on the trucks. And going into where now the drivers are drivers and the crew chiefs are crew chiefs. So I had the ability to learn off of what I would consider of this era and that at that time, the best people to learn from. John Zimmer, John Sweeney, Ken Doug, Tyson, Jeff Sim. I learned from the best, and that's how I prefer. If I want to be the best in anything I do, if it's working on the trucks, talking to the fans, working on sponsored trucks where I'm dealing with sponsors, I want to be the best. So I want to learn from the best.
Yep.
So I was blessed. I had the best teaching me. So when I teach now, I have the ability to say, okay, I've learned the Feld way, I've learned the technician way, and now you're going to learn those plus the Yoho way.
You know, you said something there that you don't see anymore is the drivers working on their own trucks. You look back, you'd see the driver, if it's a thrash, the driver would be right down there helping, and you don't see that anymore. But one cool thing that I see, I remember, guys like Cody Saucier, started as a technician, now he's a driver. I bet that's hard for him. I don't know if you've done a lot of shows with Cody over the years, but is that hard for a guy like him who started out wrenching? Now he's not able to help out at all in those kind of moments, even though I probably know he most likely would like to help.
Yeah, I know when they were going from, I think the last 2 or 3 that did the crew and drive was Cody Saucier, John Zimmer, and BJ Johnson. I'm not them personally. I was with Zimmer a lot of the time. And when you're from that era, it's hard. That first year is definitely hard not to put yourself into the truck as a driver and wanting to crew because you know what's going on. You know what would, they'd come up and like, okay, that bolt on the left rear corner is loose. And you're like, okay, how do you feel that? I've worked on them for so long and drive them. I know what feels wrong. So you learned more. In my opinion, anybody that drives a truck for independent, Monster Jam, it doesn't matter who, I got to be, not political, but say the right words. I'm trying to keep my screen from shaking. I think anybody that drives a truck should work on a truck for a year. It gives them a better perspective and respect for the truck and the crew. And I think it makes them a better driver because they understand the mechanics of it.
Well, you look at a lot of the independents that Feld brings in, Kohlers, the Overboard team, tomfoolery, those guys are driving and working on their trucks, and it makes them a better driver. You look at Cody, for instance, you hit the nail on the head, people, they should crew first and then drive because it'll give them a better understanding of the truck and how it works. You look at Cody when he first came in as a driver, it was insane how good he is, and it's just because he had that basic understanding of the truck, and with you, being one of the senior kind of technicians in Monster Jam and in the sport, what are some of the must knows in this kind of, if anybody, independence or Monster Jam, what are some of the must knows that you try to tell people that, hey, this is something that's very important to know about working on these trucks that you should always keep with you?
This is one of those questions where you got to be nice because I'm not a company person, but I don't talk bad about the company. I don't talk bad about anybody. Our thing is that, if you want to be a technician like me, go to UNOH. UNOH is a great school. Any of those schools are great schools to give you the basics. They can't teach you a work ethic. And there are people that can pass tests, but can't work on cars, can't work on trucks. They're book smart, not street smart. So pretty much, probably gonna get in trouble with this one. Pretty much anybody that comes in that I train or I teach or that I work with that I know that comes from UNOH, any of those high performance shops, or just a super fan. This is a real job. Anything that you've learned, you know absolutely nothing. Whether they're going to teach you a NASCAR tech or something like that, UNOH now has a monster truck program, but everything was based around high performance NASCAR, dirt track, whatever. 90% of our truck, 95% of our truck, if not more, is custom made, or it's farm equipment, or it's hydraulic. The only thing that is car orientated, gas pedal, brake pedal, steering wheel, engine, and transmission. Nobody coming out is going to go straight into the engine department. Nobody's going to go build our transmissions right off the start. That's something you got to earn anyway. You got to be the top of your game to do that. So everything you've learned, throw it out the door. You got to know absolutely nothing about monster trucks. You need to come in. You need to learn. You need to listen to people who've been here longer than you to learn what we're trying to teach you so you can be successful. With that said, the other one is you got to have a work ethic. You can't have a no, we're not going to make it back attitude. If they come up to you and say, hey, we knew you blew the transmission out or popped the tire during first round of racing, you won, you're going to be out for the next round. Damn fucking sure you better say yes. Or at least say we're going to try as hard as we can, because that's our job. We're not in the monster truck business. We are, but I'm not. We're in the entertainment business, in a sports entertainment business. I'm here to take you and your family out of their crappy life for at least 2.5 hours. Let us do the destruction on the field and make sure every truck that is there that you're paying to see is there. There's no giving up. There's no I can't. And if that is your personality, your attitude, frankly, I don't give a flying flip about working with you. Just quit. That's wholeheartedly what I literally tell everybody the first time I meet them. And if I go back to the company, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that I don't know that I'm going to have to probably give this speech to.
And you know, that's, you know, like whenever I get to do a show, no matter what part it is, my mindset is, you know, I'm here to do a show. I'm here to put on a show. And, you know, and like you said, you know, one of the things that I think people have to
correct you. It's not a show. It's an event.
It's an event. Yes. Sorry.
Media.
See, you know, anytime I've done an event, you know, I have the mentality is, you know, up to showtime, you know, I can kind of, you know, because it's hard for me, you know, being able to do shows because there's that super fan being a fan all my life, right? You know, like, oh, you know, I'm doing something that I love, but when it comes down to showtime, that's when that part ends, and I know it's time to do a show. You know, if I'm helping crew on a truck, like I've helped Darren Migas before, or whenever a team comes here, I'm there to help them and assist them to get their truck. If anything happens, get it back out there. Or if I'm like doing club help, no matter what it is, I try to help, you know, and, you know, I love how you've put that, you know, you know, we'll come back to that, but you mentioned earlier that you've done some racing. You know, what kind of racing did you do back in the day?
Dirt track mini stock at East Bay here in Gibsonton.
So when did you get into that? And, you know,
street racing.
Street racing. When did you get into doing some dirt track racing?
It's actually a pretty interesting story. The people that I know that my whole life know that what I went through as a young kid, which is no different than a lot of people's stories. And I have no problem talking about it. When I was younger, my dad was an alcoholic. We left my dad when I was, I think, 8 years old. We moved away from him for 6 or 7 months. He went through rehab, and he's been clean and sober now for, do the math. I was 9 when we came back. And when we finally moved out of the duplex we were in, we bought a house and got our life straightened out and everything. We started in slot car racing. We went to a place because one of the things that me and my dad found that we had in common is we like to build model cars, paint the model cars, and he liked to show me. That was the only thing we did together, that besides fishing. And we wrecked that boat. But we went to this place to get a new model, and they had a slot car track. And my dad was like, oh, what's that? You know, started talking to him. And they're like, well, we have racing competition. There's slot car tracks all over the place. And we're not talking the 80s. I'm not, you know, that old. I was alive during the 80s, but this was 90, so it's right out of the 80s. And that turned into my dad's new addiction. I think by the first year, we had like one or two cars for every class that they raced. On Friday and Saturdays, he would go race at that local hobby shop. And then on Sunday after church, my mom would get home from church. He would pack me, my mom, and my sister up because my other sister and brother were older, so they were doing their own thing. I'm the youngest of four, and we would drive up to Tampa to go to a place called King's Hobby Shop, where they had a youth. They call them slot car races, which I got a race every Sunday. I did pretty good. So we ended up going to this other place to do a race, and we realized they had an RC car track out back. And we're not talking like the new RC cars. We're talking RC10, back in the Temecula days, the Clodhoppers or whatever the heck they're called, the original big ones.
Cloudbusters.
Cloudbusters, yes, those were the coolest things I've ever seen in my life.
They're still cool.
Yeah, they are. But we got into that, turned into my dad's next new addiction. We stopped racing slot cars and got into the RC cars. And we started literally traveling all over Florida, winning every Saturday, winning track champions, doing grudge matches. And we had a RC10, and then we were the first to change a RC10 and an RCX2, combined the two, which was an aluminum frame that we took. It was all aluminum. They stamped out a sheet of aluminum to make this frame, so like our carbon fiber ones now. And then we would take a drill and a 3/4 to a 1-inch drill bit and just drill holes in it just to make it lighter. And then we'd add everything to it. So we traveled all over Florida. I think we even went up into Georgia, and we won everywhere we went. It was stupid. We had so many trophies and little plaques over the house. I think we just started throwing them away, literally throwing them away. And then the guy who owned Dan's, surprised how much I remember. Dan's up in Gibsonton. We had pulled up there one Saturday morning, I think, to get parts for the RC car, and he had a stock car sitting there, which was a 1971 Ford Pinto. It was before the mini stocks went to full steel tube chassis and wedge bodies, like what you'd see your modern day modified or late models look like. But back then, they looked like Ford Pintos. Turned to my dad's new addiction. And this is all real quick. I was 9 or 10 when my dad's like, we're going to build a mini stock. And when I say we, my dad's like, you're going to build a mini stock. At that age, we didn't have our garage built. We did it under a tree in our side yard. So that's when everybody goes, what school did you go to? I went to, Central Florida Shade Tree Mechanic Association. It's hard to say the initials like UNOH, but it sounds good. So from 9 years old, and I remember doing it up until I was 15. I think I drove the first car at 10, I think. This is before it was common to have 9 and 10-year-olds driving over there. Like, we had to fight for me to go out there when I was 15 to run hot laps. But we stuck it out. And then my mom had, I think it had encephalitis or something, needing a surgery. And we didn't do anything for years, and the car just literally sat there on the trailer. And then when my first, I think actually I had all 3 of my kids were born, I finally asked my dad, I'm like, Dad, can I have the car? He's like, sure, if you can get it running and whatever, just let me know and I'll go with you. And so I got the car running, took it out to the test and tune before the season started. That was just dumb. I get out on the track. I was the first one out there, start making some laps, and all of a sudden this car just right by me. I'm looking at this car past me like I'm standing still. And I thought I went out at the wrong time, and I thought it was a modified or a late model. No, it was the new modified mini stocks. They had full tube chassis, wedge bodies, cut tires from Goodyear or Hoosier. I forget who was sponsoring the track at that point. And I'm like, crap. Shifted, and then I started hanging with them. Our car was old, but man, we could kick it with them because you still had to follow the same rules. Had to weigh a certain amount. So if you had a 2300 cc 4-cylinder, your car couldn't weigh any more than 2300. If you had the 1600 Pentamotor, your car couldn't weigh any more than 1600. So that's what showed racing back then. Was it depended on who the driver and who the builder was. They didn't give a shit how much money you had. So when I pulled back in the pits and realized I had no brakes, and then I finally, I think, hit the trailer to stop the car. My dad's like, yeah, we're not going to be racing. You're not going to be racing. I'm like, why? He goes, because you're not allowed to run those tires anymore. You have to run dirt track, stamped, Hoosier tires. It's $900 a pair. I'm like, nope, put the fucking car on the trailer. We're taking it home. We're done. And I haven't raced since. And I think the car went to I think we sent it out to the local scrapyard and just had everything crushed.
So you haven't raced since that day?
I've raced the minivan and my little Kia Forte 5 to Walmart and back, but that's about it.
Do you still try to watch dirt track racing? I know it's getting no.
No, once I got out of racing, my kids got old enough to start sports. You got to understand, my whole life when my kids were born, I started at 17. I got married, had kids. My first kid 5 months later. I got married in January. First kid was born in July. He's going to kill me. He also worked for the company at one point. My main focus, literally, in my opinion, and 99.9% of the people I knew, was on my kids. You ask my kids, they're like any kids. I wasn't part of their life. I didn't feed them, whatever. But I know I was there every day. I worked 3 or 4 jobs if I needed to support what they needed. They never needed or wanted for anything. So that was my main focus. At any given point, we would do at least 3 travel sports from the age 6 till they discovered girls and gave it up. So my main focus was my kids. That was it. That's why when Kenny asked me if I wanted to start working for Monster Jam, it was important that my kids said, yeah, go ahead and do it.
And that's understandable. Let's kind of get into the last bit of your life here. With the cancer diagnosis and going through what you've been going through. When did you first kind of find out there was something going wrong? And after that, let's get into the story. You told me there's an interesting story about the Gravedigger shirt behind you as well.
Okay. It actually started. I didn't realize I had cancer or started thinking cancer or any of that stuff. This is the hard part. So it hasn't quite hit me that I've beat cancer yet. So we'll try to stay unemotional. Probably about a year before the diagnosis, everybody knows I was working with the Pagarulos, which, in my opinion, the Andersons are the first family of monster trucks. Monster Jam, Monster Truck Throwdown, Monster Trucks with a Z. It doesn't matter which monster truck program you're with. The Andersons are the first family of monster trucks. The hardest working family in monster trucks, Monster Jam, anything that they do is the Pagarulos. I'll fight anybody that says it's not. Grew to love the family, but I know when first quarter started, me and Nick were, well, the entire family, we did 135 shows that year that I worked for him. I was home 14 days, and only 7 of them were in a row. I spent 5 weeks at Digger's Dungeon, 5 weeks at Jay Gore's place, and 5 weeks at another monster truck guy's place that we're not going to talk about. But when first quarter came around, I was realizing when we were getting the trucks ready that I'm not recovering as I should be. I just thought I was old. And I pretty much take the blame, walked away from the Pagarulos about 3 weeks into the show, into the first quarter, which was the Tampa show that Nick ultimately came back and won. Sat at home for about a month and then got a call from Feld, did some overseas stuff, but I started noticing probably about, I think I was there for almost a year since I left the Pags. we were getting ready to do the overseas stuff. We did London, we did all that, and I actually always said that I went and had my hands X-rayed before we went to London. It wasn't London. We were in, I think it was a show before Arnhem, but before we left, I'm like, God, my hands hurt, and my doctor diagnosed me with something called multiple connective tissue disorder, which is like rheumatoid arthritis, a whole bunch of, there's like 5 things that go into it. So pretty much I had in my mind, my body's going to fight that. My joints are either going to just give up and my arms and limbs are going to hang there, or they were going to lock up and they're going to be stiff. You know, the guys that their hands were kind of like that the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So before the show, I went to the rheumatoid arthritis, which is a specialist that deals with it. And he was saying that he doesn't see in the numbers that it's that. He goes, it could be the early stages, but let's take some x-rays and whatnot of your hands because that's what's hurting you and we'll get it figured out. Unbeknownst to me, my hands hurt because I've used them my whole life and never knew I broke a bone, but between my 2 hands, I've broken my hands 25 times apparently.
Damn.
I was like, well, for shits and giggles, I'm getting ready to go overseas. All the lymph nodes in my neck are swollen. He's like, what do you think? And he comes up and feels me. He goes, do they hurt? I'm like, no, not at all. They're just hard. And they're really swollen. You can see some of them. I think the biggest one that was on the left side of my face was 2 centimeters or 3 centimeters. Doesn't sound big, but you're thinking that's a lymph node that's big. That's usually less than the size of a pea.
Like it doesn't sound big, but when you look at it on a measuring tape or something, it's massive.
Oh yeah. So of course, me and my girlfriend, that doctor's like, you need to go see your primary care physician. And I'm gonna put this out there. I know not many people live in Florida, but my doctor D-Raj Reddy and my fiance Elizabeth have been the two that had probably saved my life. My doctor got everything ordered. So when I got to the oncologist, I could turn to him. And Liz made all my appointments for everything. Well, 3 days before Christmas, I did the biopsy. And they did another biopsy, which the first biopsy, they're like, okay, you have a type of lymphoma, I guess, which I'm like, okay, I've done my research, and I'm sure at some point somebody's going to correct me that lymphoma by percentage is probably the best rated one to beat certain guys. I'm like, I can do this. And then they're like, okay, but it came back as it was metastasized, which means it moved. That was the secondary location. So we went and did the MRI and the PET scan, and they had found out that it was originated in my nasopharynx, which is if you take a laser and kind of go through here, right in the center of my head. And so we're not going to talk about that biopsy because that went horribly wrong. And so they did that biopsy, and I finally got the call from my doctor 3 days before Christmas, and he said, "Yeah, it's cancer. We found it there. We need to do some other scans and stuff to see what state it's in." When I did Arnhem, at that point, because you don't do overseas all the time, all year. So Peter Nyman and then everybody that I've met overseas were, of course, at that show. So at that point, in my head, I'm never coming back. So I said my goodbyes in my last overseas show. And that's when we come home, did first quarter. I refused to come off the road. Refused it. And that day, the company took care of me and flew me home to do more tests and more scans. And that's when they said it was stage 4. pretty much a month away from being able to do anything. Gotta talk to my counselor.
I love that cup, by the way.
Mm. It was for Cheech, you know. To answer your question back of, you know, what it takes to be a technician, you gotta have two personalities. You gotta have the nice one, then you just pretty much about everybody to fuck off.
I know a lot of people like that.
Like I said, the reality of everything hasn't set in yet. I've only really had this conversation with direct family and personal friends.
It's all good, brother. It's all good. I'm here for you, brother.
But anyways, I came back and started first quarter. Kristen Anderson's crew chief. I felt bad because, you know, shit. She knows what's going on because you have to have that talk with her that I'm going to be here and there. I may never come back, whatever. So I think it threw her game off, and I apologize to her immensely for not being 100%. And everybody's like, oh, you did, you know, it wasn't you. She did a hell of a job after I left. Still, was it my fault all? No. Me and her were both a freaking mess at the beginning of the year. Anyways, I went and did the first 3 weeks, came home. I think we did another PET scan, and that's when he actually said it was stage 4. So, of course, I had to go talk to the company. And this is later. I flew home after show Sunday. I think I did the PET scan Monday. Talked to the company Tuesday morning. You know, this is what we found out. Send me back out. This is pretty much going to be my last show. And then I got to start treatment or whatnot. Or I might have got 2. I don't know. I think I got 2 more weeks in there. Flew back out, did another show, and then did my final show, I think, in somewhere in California. I'm not quite sure. I know Becky McDonough was there for my last show. I like to think she was there for me, but yeah, Kristen's her friend. So it was an awesome show. Didn't end the way I want to, but it ended. I got a call when I got back from Bill Easterly. I got called from Dustin, from Sean. All my managers, they did what they were allowed to do legally by the company, and they did what they could do as humans. You know, help me get through it all, help me with the paperwork. Bill Easterly told me, you know, open door if I need to come up and be an asshole and just have the best I could. I think I did once. But the company and the people did what they could do as much as they could. They were busy. And then the final show, we did it. Everybody that was on the tour, I know all the drivers, all the technicians, dirt crew, and a bunch of them had signed that shirt right there. I never washed it. I literally balled it up and threw it on my shelf in my closet. That thing stinks to high hell. But on my first show back, when I do my first show, if it's overseas, underwater, here in America, I don't care where it's at, that shirt will get burnt because that was my last show shirt. There's a couple things we did. We signed the shirt. I requested a full tour photo, which the photo came out. And I talked to my guys. I'm like, I know this show is going to be a live loadout. So we all ganged up on the trailers. We had like 30 minutes to do each trailer. I'm like, nobody is shutting their door on my trailer. I'm shutting the final door on my trailer because I didn't know if I shut the door to that chapter of my life or whatever. Symbolic. I'm an old fart, whatever. Then we had to explain that to a couple of guys. Like, I don't get the significance of it. Well, whatever. So I did that, and I left not knowing if I was going to come back. I personally has always said that I'm going to beat it. I try to do the entire thing with a positive attitude, a joking attitude, turned a positive to a negative. Always posted positive stuff. I made shirts for each one of my chemo treatments. I made one shirt for my radiation because I did like 35 of those. That's just too many damn shirts to buy and make. I crafted like the entire time. My fiance calls me a crafty bitch. Um, I got one of those circuit makers. If anybody went to the awards show or seen the awards show, you've seen the jacket that Adam Anderson wore. It was all bedazzled with rhinestones. That took me 7 months to do, and my daughter helped me finish it because near the end, when I did the flames around the wrist, I wanted to put purple around, so it's like the fire suit. Well, at this point, I couldn't see. My eyes have gone bad. I've lost partial hearing in my right ear. Hopefully, they both will come back, but I couldn't focus. So my daughter begrudgingly finished that for me, and then I actually came back to work. I came back to work. The treatment part. I know I'm talking a lot. If you need to say something, just back.
No, good. Go ahead, man. I just want to say that jacket that you made was badass, and
I still have it hanging in my closet. I have plans for it. I'm not going to say what the plans are at this point. I've talked to Adam. We got to talk to a couple other people. We're going to make something happen. We'll get it. I'll give it a smidgen more of that by the time I'm done with my story. But I finished my treatment. I'm like, this shit's a cakewalk. I don't know why everybody's complaining. Lost hair, lost this. It was, okay, we're getting to the joking side. It was the best damn weight loss program I ever had. Huh? Where is it? Hold on a second. My girlfriend's asking if I want the jacket.
Yep.
I got it in the closet in here. Do you want to see the jacket?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, hold on. I'll get it. Hold on.
If you guys didn't watch the Monster Jam Award show, this jacket is bitching. Oh, that is so cool. That is so cool.
The front of it's pretty plain, but I got bored and we put some like through the sides, so just the whole thing would shine. I was going to put a gold ribbon up here for pediatric cancer. Okay, here's where I'm going to get into my pitch. It's a little sooner than I wasn't planning it, but my girlfriend stuck her head in the door and said I should show it. Anybody that knows monster trucks knows Wayne Scott. He was a body shop technician. He has then did our overseas manager for body shop and now works with us as technicians. And he's pretty much does the overseas stuff. So I was going to put the gold ribbon on here for his daughter. His daughter in 2016 beat pediatric cancer. The lighting in here isn't that great for it, but damn, this thing is really shiny.
That is badass.
And I replicated the Cruise Shores Pasta Gang, had the purple haze around it, the green that goes around the waist, the hand. These are little bitty ones, and I'm not going to lie to anybody. These ones are a big sheet, so I just cut the circle out here. These small ones, these are all but any of the big ones, they're all hand placed. The flames and everything on them are hand placed. There's probably over 25,000 rhinestones on this.
Holy
going
shit.
From little to big. There's a story behind my rhinestones. This is a $2 jacket from a thrift store. This is for me to wear. This was going to be my year. I was convinced I'm going to do such a good job with Kristen. I'm getting Technician of the Year. I deserve it. It's fucking mine. I'm going on stage. I'm giving the world's best speech. Not as good as Colt Bernard's Just Do It, but it was going to be good. I couldn't find the right purple. So the rhinestones are all Amazon, not expensive at all. Until I got to purple. You know how hard it is to find the right Gravedigger purple to go over?
I could imagine.
See, that gives the shine off.
Oh, yeah, that is sick.
Let me hang this up because I'm tired of holding on to this. I don't know how to hold it. So until we got the purple rhinestone on there, I may have $150 in on it.
Damn.
Then the Purple Rhinestones came about. I'm not gonna say where I got them, who I got them from. The actual Purple Rhinestones are Swarovski crystals. 1,040 of those things, which what comes in the package, are expensive. They're about $295 a stone. So that jacket's probably now worth $1,500 to $2,000.
Holy shit.
And yes, I'm not giving too much away. I'm going to use it to raise money for pediatric cancer, because my little girl, Presley Scott, Wayne's daughter, I haven't talked to him and I hope he forgives me, is battling cancer again. She had a spot come back up. So I want to make sure that everything for them is taken care of. My other saving grace and my guardian angel was Cindy Mathis. I didn't get a chance to go to her funeral because my recovery, this could segue into back to the story, my recovery was far worse than my treatment. I got arrogant. My treatment, fucking cakewalk. The only thing I lost was my full beard, my mustache, my hearing, some skin on my neck from the laser treatments from radiation. But Cindy, going through what she was going through, would always call me. I could message her from laying in my bed for 2 months because I couldn't do anything. Would give me tips and tricks, tell me I'm doing fine, tell me how to get through it. Cindy and Kevin, God, I hope I said his name right. I'm emotional right now, so I'm not thinking straight. Did a fundraiser for me selling my Yoho approved shirts, which, you know, goes over like a fart in the wind every once in a while, because it was a stamp of my face. And it was the last show I did with the Mathises when I told them that I was getting my biopsy, that I showed them my stamp. Best drunk purchase ever. And he wanted to make a shirt of it just before he knew I had cancer. So he made those, and then he came up with a logo that said "Fight Like a Pirate," because, you know, my last name's Yoho and my psychiatrist is a captain, which his name is Morgan. You can put two together and figure that one out. They did a fundraiser with their shirt company to help me raise some money to just compensate some. I wasn't able to go to her funeral and talk about Cindy like I wanted to because my recovery was worse. I had got permission from my doctor to return to work because I was done with my treatment. Everything looked good. I was progressing well. So I gave him the message, the paper from my doctor said I was released to go back to work. And I flew to our finals. I asked, because I wanted to go up a week early, before I went there, I just went and seen my son, who lives in Arkansas, and my two grandbabies that I hadn't never met my grandson because he was born that year that I was doing all the treatment. And my granddaughter I hadn't seen in over a year because when I came back from London, I had COVID, curse word. So I didn't get to see her when they came down and visited. So me and my fiance, at that time his girlfriend, went up and seen them and did some other things. I'm like celebrating, I'm done with treatment, whatever, going to see my grandbabies, went to a zoo, you know, got pushed around the airport for the first time in a wheelchair. That was a different experience. Went around the Arkansas Zoo in an electric wheelchair, experience again. Walked around Graceland, never need to go again. And then we drove an hour, I think, out of our way and went to a drive-through zoo or safari, whatever you want. That's where I decided to ask my girlfriend after 10 years to marry me. Now she's fiance.
Congratulations.
She finally earned the right to wear the ring or whatever you want to say. So when I got to World Finals, did what I had to do. And I think halfway through the week, think halfway through the week in Arkansas, I kind of knew that I made a mistake. I'm not ready to come back because at this point I hadn't eaten a damn thing since April, and now we're in July. So we're talking 4 months, 3.5, 4 months. I haven't had any bit of food. I quit being able to drink in the Ensure, so the only nutrition I was getting was water. Did what I was there to do for World Finals. Got home, still feeling like crap, but still being able to move. Went to the shop, worked in the parts department, and then is when it got bad. I couldn't drive into work, which I live 30, 40 minutes away from work. Felt like I was drunk. Scared me. I've never drunk drove. I don't agree with it. I drink. I don't agree with drunk driving. And it scared me. I'm like, I'm going to kill somebody on the way. I'm going to kill myself. So that's kind of what brought me up. And I went to my doctors. I literally would sit at the parts counter, couldn't hold my head up. I just couldn't do it. A couple people noticed that work in apartments and had said a couple things. And I'm like, I'm going to go to the doctor and get looked at. And I had just got probably so malnourished, so dehydrated that I just couldn't do anything. So my recovery was far worse. To the point, and my girlfriend, fiance, sorry, still looks at me like I'm crazy when I said there was nights that I would lay in bed thinking or questioning if my fiance and my doctor knew that I was going to die. And I was afraid to go to sleep because that's how bad it was. You know, with my attitude, I'm going to beat the shit. If I don't go to sleep, no way I could die. So I just didn't go to sleep. That's when it was scary. And I literally went back to the doctor again, like, I think I need a feeding tube. I talked to a guy at work that has gone through head and neck cancer, not exactly the same as me. It says he had one. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just do it. My doctor's like, no, you're going to take a turn in the next week or two. You're going to start feeling better. And if we're going to do the feeding tube, we should have done it like 3 months ago. I'd love to have done it 3 months ago. I love food. But I was resisting it, whatever. I bulked up. I got fatter. So I did. I made a turn. I'm slowly eating now. This go back on disability has been rough because it made me realize how much I missed working on monster trucks. Still not a fan.
Just got to get that point in there.
No. And everybody's like, well, if you do it, why are you still, if you're not a fan, why are you still here? Best technicians, sorry, everybody, are not super fans. The ones who can separate the super fanness from the work and that bring you smiles to families are the ones who are the best. Mm. I am a fan of meeting the people that I do the shows for, meeting the people that I work with that are worthy of working with me, and working on the trucks. I like working on the trucks. Who gets to work on a 12,000 pound, 12-foot tall truck that can do a backflip or stand on two wheels? 1,500 horsepower. Come on. That's you don't badass. Have to be a fan of sports entertainment or this sport or be an athlete to be like,
yep.
But the challenge of it is what has got me through cancer. I've been doing some other things because I do know that after this type of cancer, which this was a fast-moving cancer, their survivability rate was probably not favorable. Where most of them nowadays, they have made leaps and bounds in cancer treatment. Granted, there is no cure for cancer, but you can beat it, go into remission. Most of them are around 85 to 90%. Mine was low 50s, mid 50% to 68% survivability rate. And survivability rate with cancer, which most people don't understand, is not a lifetime of survivability. It's 5 years. So after 5 years, if you beat it, and this is according to my doctor, after 5 years, the survivability rate gets worse. But my doctor is positive. I'm positive. My girlfriend's positive. My kids are positive. My 3 pain in the ass dogs that don't like me are positive that I've beat cancer because, like my post said, I'm a freaking living legend. I'm a medical oddity. If you fight it and do it with a positive personality, positive attitude, you can beat it. It's just like anything else.
Yeah.
People don't beat it. I did. I was lucky. I was extremely lucky, and there's times I didn't think I would, but I never gave up. We'll have fun with it. So now I'm just doing physical therapy 3 days a week. I'm trying to go back to the gym to progress it because I do want to go back to work. I do need to go back to work.
See, I was, I read that post that you did about like the Scott Douglas thing. That needs to happen your first show back. Like seriously,
Oh, yeah.
because it's so inspiring. Because I know it because my grandmother went through cancer, cervical cancer. I told you that before, and she battled it once, won, but then it came back worse. And just the fact that you went through it with such a positive attitude, speaks volumes because, I don't shy away that I deal with mental health issues. And sometimes, I know with myself, I can get really down in the dumps about it and not be positive. But, with you speaking the way that you have, keeping a positive mental attitude about it, it helped you beat it.
I had the positive mental health. Everybody has their different opinions on that. That is definitely something we're not going to get into here because, again, everybody has their own opinion on mental health. I would say at one point I did get a little chemically unbalanced because a lot of people don't know I'm very claustrophobic enclosed. So with the chemo, the radiation, my skin got very, very sensitive, and I couldn't even stand to wear clothes. So yes, I was naked 99.9% of the time in my bed. So when I had to go do an MRI, PET scan, or any of that, my doctor put me on lorazepam, which is just the kind of thing that kind of mellows you out, whatever.
Yeah.
So every day that I would go to do my radiation, because they were radiating my face and my neck. Another one of my things that I am phobia is don't strap me down, don't hold me up. So they had a mask they had to put over my face that held me to the table, so I couldn't get up. It didn't matter if I was paying or not, I couldn't get up unless you could find the latches to it, which my nurses were awesome and showed me where that is because I threatened to tear up their $1 million plus machine if they didn't get in there quick enough. And I would have. So not being a person that likes to take mind altering, whatever you want to call it, drugs to make you mellow for psychiatric problems or emotional problems, I didn't know that you're not supposed to just go off on it, go off of it. So Monday through Friday, I'd take it. Saturday and Sunday, I wouldn't take it. And I, have apologized to my girlfriend, my kids, my stepson. I've got 5 kids between the two of us. I will say I was a straight up asshole to my family and my kids, to the point where I would some nights like shit in my head. I'll be an asshole, put yourself to bed. Never hurt anybody, but I was an asshole to them as much as they supported and helped me. And then I talked to my doctor or my radiologist or one of the nurses I had, or Google or Cap. I didn't drink back then, or somebody that I don't understand what's going on. They're like, well, tell me how your week goes. I take this, and then the weekend I don't take this. That's where you messed up. So I just started taking it all the time, and then stepped down off it after. So it was rough. I don't want to do it again. If at any point it comes back, I'll never do radiation again because that is barbaric. It did more damage, I think, than it did good, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. So I have no choice but to not get cancer again. I allowed to drink less than I was, which is fine. I didn't drink for 8 months. I don't smoke cigars. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. Uh, I eat far less because I'm just starting to eat again. So I'm actually staying at about 222, 23 pounds, and that's down from my constant weight was 280, 200 something. I got up to 312 because my doctor wanted me to bulk up before I started losing weight. But it was rough. I don't want to do it again. I don't recommend it. Hell of a weight loss program, but I don't recommend it. It's rough on everybody.
You know, man, I'm glad you beat it. You know, it's a success story. You know, you battled death and you won. And
Oh
you
yeah,
know, I don't really swear much in the podcast, but you know, for this one, fuck cancer, man. Like
I
it's
cuss
just
like a sailor, drink like a fish. So nobody's opinion except for my family. To me, everybody's opinion in the 2023, 2024 era matters apparently. But to me, the only opinions that matter of how I act, how I talk, how I function, how I live my life are mine and my family's.
yeah.
My immediate families. I don't care how my other families feel, but my immediate families, they're the ones that deal with me. Yeah, I don't care.
But dude, it's such a, you know, amazing story of what you've been through, and you know, I can't wait to see what the future holds for you, and you know, hopefully, you know, whatever. I know you were mentioned about the fundraiser you're wanting to do eventually. If there's anything we can do here with Crush This to help you with that, by all means, you know, we'll promote it all the way as much as we can, and maybe we'll do like a little bundle ourselves. You know, we'll put together a crew shirt package, or
Yeah,
we'll do something to help out with that. You know, because you know
something's gonna
we definitely want to help.
something needs to be done in the future because now that I'm trying to change the culture, as much as the company and the people that have supported me from work, from family, it can be better.
Mhm.
There's I've contacted my local congressman because if they ever have like a cancer reform, I'd like to go talk in front of Congress. Because here's the thing, and this is where I'll get off on my rant, and then you can close the show out. There's three age groups to deal with cancer: pediatric, the working age, elderly. I have sat and watched and had conversations that will never end, never be finalized with the elderly during cancer, uh, the chemo treatment. And I say they'll never end because they've passed away. And what I've learned and have talked from these people is that their age, they're just buying time. So the most of them were, I'd say the average age was 79 to 90 something that were fighting cancer. They're like, I've lived a healthy life. I'm just buying time to see my grandkids. They're retired. They have a pension. Their house is paid for. They don't have to worry about paying for anything. They've got Medicaid, Medicare, their insurance, whatever. They're not worried. Then you go to the pediatric side. Um, it sucks for anybody to get cancer. And I'm not saying it's easier for anybody to survive, get by, get through, afford, emotionally handle anything. But kids, yes, they have to worry about ultimately what can happen with them if they have cancer, but their main focus is to get better. Their parents' focus is to pay for the bills, support them, and keep them emotionally healthy. And then you get to the working age, which is me. I have to worry about going back to work. I have to worry about making the house payment. I have to worry about the kids that I have to support, the dogs I got to feed, the car payment I got to make, and the insurance I got to pay weekly while working. Can't make that payment and don't have that insurance if you're not working. There's no help out there for the working age. I've looked, I've tried. I did a GoFundMe. We did the shirt thing. I made money, and I appreciate for the money that was raised. My medical bills that fortunately I didn't have to pay because I was able to put money away during first quarter during the summer, and I had a nice savings account, and I had insurance that I paid for the past 7 years working for the company. So I haven't had to really worry, but there are people out there my age that can't afford it, and there's no help for them. It is the worst age demographic period to have cancer because there's nothing for you. So not only do you have to worry about the cancer, but you have to worry about the mental aspect, your family's mental aspect, and paying for it and working. Do I want to go back to work? Yes, because I love doing what I was doing. Do I have to go back to work? Yes. Do I need to go back to work? Yes, because I need to keep my insurance. And I can tell you that time is coming really freaking close. Really close. I wasn't expecting to still being out of work. I was back to making money, and then my recovery happened. So if anybody can go out there and help anything, change anything, all I can say is be there for the people that have cancer. If you are busy, take 2 or 3 minutes, give them a call. Doesn't matter if you're traveling, working the first quarter, doing this or that. You're the boss. I get the legal point of some things that they can't talk about your work, but you are a friend after all. Give them a freaking call.
Yeah.
Help in any way you can. There are 2 people that they're probably not watching. They might watch later if they hear me say their name. That I gave the biggest shit attitude to that I was training. Tried to make them quit every bit I could because that's how I trained somebody. I tried to make you quit. If you can't take me for a couple of weeks, you're not going to make it through first quarter. Elliot Grooms and Roberto, I don't remember his last name, are literally the only 2 during first quarter that messaged me to ask if I was okay. Unless I had called you to see how first going was going or messaged you to see how first quarter was going. I'm not mad because I tried to do everything in a positive way and spin it. And that's when I was talking about I'd like to change the culture of our industry, of anybody across the board for support during cancer. Take the time. You don't necessarily need to raise money for them. It's not going to cost you to call them and say, hey, how you feeling today? I know you're having a shitty go at it, but how you doing? That goes a long way. And that's where my guardian angel, Cindy, came in, and Kevin Mathis came in. And my other little guardian angel, Presley Scott, came in. And Wayne and his wife, Kenny, he called me all the time. And Carlos de la Cruz. This guy came over to my house on Easter. Didn't know he was coming. He called me about 5-10 minutes out and asked me for my address, said he was on his way. Because he was in town. He wanted to see me. So just smile, call them, see how they're doing, see what you could do to make their recovery or treatment better, see what their family might need. If you want to help Presley, go to my Facebook page, go to her GoFundMe and raise money because it's going to be a long battle for her and it better turn out good. Go on Cindy's page. I think Kevin posted it yesterday about still helping Sydney, medical bills, see if they need any help. Call Kevin, see how he's doing. He survived. That's harder than dying.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it is. I had looked at death a different way. When you pass away, you don't have to worry about it. The ones that are living do. So if you know somebody that lost the battle, give their family a call, see how they're doing. Just do what you can do. Let's beat this. Let's get over it and make it to where nobody has to deal with it again. Let's, as Dustin Brown would say, make monster trucks great again. Let's get back to work. Let's do these shows. Let's make people happy. That's, saying that was the entire reason I was on here. Let's change the culture and the stigmatism of cancer. There's so much worse things out there than what everybody's freaking worrying about nowadays.
Yeah.
Who cares? Make everybody happy.
And just hearing that, like it I don't mean to get emotional myself, but like
You're
just
allowed to
this,
get emotional. That's fucking cancer and dealing with it. Nobody
like
is going to make it better unless everybody gets emotional about it. We
like
can
this.
get emotional about stupid shit, like who makes the best Starbucks, or who's going to win the World Finals this year, or who didn't earn their win at World Finals, or who won NASCAR. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a shit? There's so much other stuff to worry about. Let's worry about making sure everything goes good. So you come to see a show, a race, a movie, you go to school. Kids need to go to school every day. They need to have fun doing it, and play a sport. Shit, everybody needs to be happy again. Quit bitching at each other. Get over stuff.
It's this past week was 15 years since my grandmother passed, and you saying, make sure you give them a call. Like the one regret that I'll always have is I never got to say goodbye to my grandmother, and that still crushes me to this day. And, just hearing your outlook on that just makes it's hard. Cause like I said earlier, fuck cancer, it's a nasty thing. And, it's, just
a little insight on the company. Bill Easterly. I know he's trying to talk to me when I go up there next week to talk about me coming back and everything. You either love Bill, you hate Bill, whatever. I don't give a crap. Me and Bill have a mutual respect for each other, and I got a little more respect for him and the company and everybody else. When I came home and got diagnosed with stage 4, and then I went back on the show, Bill Easterly was the first one to call me. Literally. I got into the pack rat where we were working on trucks before I could tell my crew, the crew that I was working with, the diagnosis, what's going to happen. My phone rings. It's Bill Easterly. Like, hey, Bill. He's like, how's it going? I'm like, I'm back at work. He's like, look, I don't give a crap about work. How are you? Like, I'm great. I was great the whole damn time. Till recovery. And he's like, well, I just want to let you know that I hope you pull through. We're both assholes. We both like to be assholes to people. If you ever need to be the asshole to somebody or just have a vent session, my door's open. Coming up and talk to me. I'm like, look, Bill, I'll come up if I need to, but if I come up to work and bitch about something, nobody's going to be the open door because it's going to be stupid. But I'm going to beat this. I don't accept death. I don't acknowledge death. I don't even think death happens, whatever. I just don't accept it. I'm not going to die. Yeah. I'm a legend. I go by one name. I'm immortal, whatever. I've had somebody say that, you know why you got cancer? And this is just the relationship I had. There was no disrespect in the comment, and it wasn't from work. They said, you know why you got cancer? I'm like, probably because all my smoking, drinking, and doing stupid shit as a younger kid. They're like, no, karma. I'm like, no, karma's not that much of a bitch because I'm going to beat her ass.
Damn straight, and you did.
Fuck karma. The only karma that I know that could probably beat my ass was a dog. So, you know what? I can beat karma's ass, and I did, and I can continue to beat it. I'll come back in some shape or form. I don't know how I'm coming back to Monster Trucks, Monster Jam, or any of them, but I will be back in some shape or form. I don't know when, hopefully sooner than later, because again, I need the insurance. But I do have other plans for the future, which will be out there hopefully next week or 3. And we'll just take it one PET scan and MRI and test it with the doctor at a time.
Well, Josh, you are a freaking legend, and
I'm
it's
too, or arrogant.
Oh, dude, you ooze confidence.
you talk to my girl and it's arrogance. But yeah.
Yeah. Arrogance, confidence, tomato, tomato.
Either way, I've perfected it over the years. I'm trying not to,
Oh, you don't have to hide it, dude. You don't have to hide it. Don't worry about it.
Okay, fuck it.
Well, dude, thank you for coming on the show. It was awesome to get to chat with you tonight. Definitely want to have you on again in the future. Some more. Want to hear some stories of, some funny stuff that's happened on the road or whatever. We want to have you on again.
If I don't end up with a company, we could tell some really good stories about traveling. If I end up with a company, I could tell you some halfway decent stories about traveling. So we'll see how the future goes. And if I don't end up with anybody, fuck it, we're gonna have a goddamn blast.
Oh yeah, Cheech will be back here for the show, and it'll. We did an episode with a guy. I'm not going to name him, but we did an episode with a guy for 3 hours, and he told some legendary stories. And I think we'll get another, good, solid, some good stories from you as well. And I'm not too sure who we have on next week. Cheech will let me know, guys. Just gonna end with my little spiel here. Mental health is a serious thing. If you know of anybody struggling, reach out. We've lost some people in the industry due to it. Reach out to somebody. Your mental health matters. If you and I'll I'm gonna start saying this. If you feel like there's something going wrong, what happened with Josh when he found the stuff in his neck, go get checked out. Please. You need to
call me. Facebook message me. I've talked to a couple people in the industry that are going through cancer right now, or have somebody in their family going to cancer. My phone is always on. My Facebook is always on. If I don't hear, I'm sure my fiance will tell me to wake up and answer it. Get help. We don't need any more useless deaths. We don't need any more deaths of cancer. Take your cancer into your own hands. I literally had 19 plus nurses through all the different. I had 4 or 5 different doctors from 3 different buildings. I had the best in the world. Moffitt Cancer, Genesis Radiation, and Florida Cancer, the best in the world working on me. I paid the best money and had the best insurance to do it. Worked for the best company that could get me that insurance. And again, the 2 people that have saved my life through this whole thing was my doctor, which my primary care provider, which took on getting all the tests done. So when I walked into the oncologist, because it takes forever to get into any doctor, said, here's my files, figure out my treatment plan. But the number one person was my fiance Elizabeth, that literally did every scheduling of every appointment, went to the doctors, would write down questions that I had to ask him, would take every note, would make sure my prescriptions were filled, would get me to every appointment. She has done everything. All I had to do was get treatment. She didn't have to do it. She could have walked away. She could have been like, okay, I can't deal with it. I got to work, because she was the only one working this entire time. She did that, including me working a full-time job, taking care of the 5 kids, 2 grandbabies, 3 dogs, me, the dishes, the house, the car, everything. That's why the support doesn't stop with me. It stops with her. And if you can help anybody, go to my website, my Facebook page, and find a link to help Presley. Find a link to help pay for Cindy's bills. Just help. Give them a call. See how they're doing.
And we will share both links on the Crush This page, and I'll share them on my personal page as well. And we're here, like, whenever you do the fundraiser for the jacket or whatever, we'll throw in some stuff from Crush This as well, some stickers and customized crew shirt. We'll support it as well. We're all in this together. This is one big dysfunctional family that we call Monster Trucks, and we're gonna fight this thing, man. It's this chat's definitely open up my eyes, and I hope it's opened up some other people's eyes that have been either listening on the podcast platform or live with us right now.
Definitely. And everybody's gonna wonder. Hashtag where's your Peter? He drinks with me every time I get a drink. Can't wait to get back to overseas Europe, see Peter, and see everybody. Can't wait to see everybody at the shows when I'm back. Just look out for what's happened with me and my family and the things we have discovered and have come up with while I was going through my treatment, and the Crush This podcast, Monster Jam, Throwdown, everybody. I don't give a shit. Just be present, do your thing, do your part, support the community, make Monster Trucks great again. And as Carl Van Horn would say, love you, mean it.
Damn straight. And as we always say on the Crush This podcast, keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up, everybody. Deuces.